So let's begin. So again, Sebastian is not here today, so I'm going to be filling in. I don't have an agenda because that was kind of short notice. We'll just look at status here, and I'll do it from GitHub. And then if people have demos, please say so in the chat window. Did anybody actually say anything? Yeah, there is one item on the agenda that we should be looking at, which is merging the feature deployment branch into dev. I'll get Sebastian's input on that later, but we can still discuss it today. So let's begin with the status. So today is the 7th, so we are looking at everything in July pretty much. Pull requests, so okay. Code cleanup. We are cleaning up our code. Our code is clean. Okay, let's. Okay. Adding some tests. Okay, tests are good. Fixes the issue where set as homepage setting is not retained when saving. It's from this guy, Sipke. I heard it's good. Looks good to me. Speak up if you see something you don't like. Oh, so that seems to be in the same kind of thing. I'm always a little nervous about homepage, the way the homepage changes. Sipke, is there anything that needs to be said about this? Is Sipke here?
Sipke is currently on the side of the road in the UK awaiting roadside assistance for a flat tire, but he's on Skype. I can ask him.
So you mean, do you mean Teslas can have flat tires?
He said it's a rental car. I said, you know, it's a run flat tire, kiss €500 goodbye. They're very expensive. But he's like, no, thank God, it's a rental. So.
Oh, he's in California right now?
No, he's in, I think he's in England.
Oh, okay.
He's somewhere where the roaming, I said, you're going to call in. He said somewhere where the roaming charges are very high, so he doesn't think he can make the call.
Okay. Okay, well, that looks fine. Added type name to element data serialization blacklist. Okay. Fix that default layout data would not be applied. Default layout data would not be applied. Okay. Default layout data for form. Interesting. Okay, so he's filling the layout with some boilerplate layout. Okay. Pull request, pull request. What are the pull requests doing? Well. Okay. Sipke's been busy this week. Form field binding issues. Okay. Incorrect method error. That's a little vague. No, okay. I don't know where that is, but layout editor, okay. Improved content item and projection element by rendering an abstract representation instead. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's an important one, and I wish Sipke would have been here to discuss that. So I had a conversation with him about this. So here's the issue. The issue is that in the layout editor, by default, elements are just being rendered as they are on the front end. And in some cases, we know at least one case where this is not working as it should. And that case is where the element is rendering a form, an HTML form. So one example of that was an element that was displaying a shopping cart part. And the shopping cart has its own form. And this is actually, well, you know that HTML doesn't allow for nested forms. So the form inside the element would close the global form that's on the layout editor, and that would prevent the page from saving correctly. So there are two ways you can deal with that. The first way is to actually filter the HTML that's being rendered by the element and remove stuff that we know is bad, such as forms. And input elements, I suppose, could also interfere. Oh, we have a horse. Hi. And the second way to deal with this, which is what Sipke went for, and I think we should discuss that, is that he's actually changing the way elements render by default. And instead of letting them render the way they render on the front end, he's actually rendering like, you know, a gray box basically with the name, the display text of the element. Which definitely gets rid of the problem, but in a way that is a little heavy-handed. Because by default now, the elements look very bland, unless they have a specific design template to replace the default rendering. So does anybody have any opinions on that? Nobody? Okay. Well, I think it's a little heavy-handed. So, we really need Sipke here to discuss it. And I'd really like to know what people think about that. Okay, so Christian is saying that he doesn't have any sound. So if you can hear me, please write something in the chat. Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's just Christian. Okay, so Derek is saying it seems heavy-handed, but what are the other options besides broken? Well, the other options are to basically the approach that he went for is pretty much a whitelist, and usually whitelists are better than blacklists. But in this case, we could, you know, fix problems as we find them. We know that rendering a form element or rendering inputs is going to be a problem, so we could actually filter that. Excuse me. Yeah, so we could filter out form elements and input elements and text areas. And I think we would, well, we know that that would fix that particular problem. It yeah. So yeah, so that's one solution. We don't know of any other case where it does interfere, but well, if something brings in a star sheet, for example, or a custom script, that may also be a problem, although I don't know whether there are already systems in place to protect against that. So yeah, the rendering of the elements can actually look pretty ugly because it doesn't have star sheets and so on. So, I don't know. Okay, so let's just keep Sipka's solution in place for now. And the problem is that it's actually it looks like a regression from the feature that we shipped in 1.9. So it appears to work less well, to give you a worse idea of the feature. But anyway, okay, so apparently people have no opinion on that, so I'll just move on. Okay, so okay. Derek says that makes sense. Just target the one or two cases we know don't work. Well, I don't know. Maybe we can give it a try, at least until next version. And people who are using the source code can actually try it out and see what they like better. So I'll talk to CP about this. Suppress input validation on SMTP test form. Okay. Okay. Why? I don't know why we're doing that. You try and use address forms. Oh, okay. Trying to think if this is dangerous. Don't think so. Fix broken HTML element view. So that seems to be related to that. Remove image references. Stated usage of correct lazy field class. Yeah. Improved image element dialog by hiding save cancel buttons. Okay. Fix potentially dangerous request error. So that's more input validation suppression here in dynamic forms. Okay. Form redirect issue. Okay. For validation results, get output cached. Haha. That looks interesting. What it fixes is okay. And merge. Okay. So that's for this week's changes. Do we have any demos today?
Yes.
Oh,
I like
okay.
to demo some.
Sure. Okay, so I will stop sharing. Go ahead.
Okay, let me share my screen. Share. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
It's loading for me.
Okay, the demo is about a reporting module. Last week I started to work reporting for ticketing system, and I thought maybe it would be good to implement it in a generic way, so maybe it would be useful for other purposes. The module is called Orchard.Reporting, and this module allows us to view the queries in charts. By installing the module adds a data reports link to the dashboard here, and by clicking on it, I can see the list of data reports. Let's create a new one. Data reports connect to a query. Let me give it a name. It gets a query, a chart type. At the moment, I only implement pchart in this version. An aggregate method counts some average, minimum, maximum, and group by field. At the moment, I only implement group by field for enumeration and numeric fields, but it can be extended. It's pretty much similar to the fields currently we had for queries, somehow similar patterns. Let me select this one. And if I select a wrong aggregate method, for example, I cannot have average for enumeration field. The module prevented me. It has validation. Let me save it. Now I have a report, and in a chart type, I can represent it. Let me create a new one. Here I can select a report, give it CSS classes. Let me show it on this menu. And if I go to the content, I can see the data in a pchart. The query for this data was this query. So actually, we can have any query here and represent them in charts. And yes, it was it. And by the way, for the ticketing system, I add the activity stream. And also now we have a dynamic status for tickets. I can create new status.
Very
Yes,
nice.
that's it.
Very nice. Have
Thank
you? Do you know about the reports in Nwazet.Commerce?
In where?
Nwazet.Commerce, which is an e-commerce module.
Not really.
Okay, so there is a charting, reporting and charting feature in that module. So yours works on projections. This one actually requires you to write. It works with queries defined in code. Maybe I can show some how it looks like. Give me a second. I'll try to find it. So does anybody else have questions?
I would have a remark that it's interesting to see such reports because we also have an open issue about that. I also pasted it into the chat window, the URL to the issue, about having aggregation features or aggregation functions available for project or queries. So you couldn't just list content items, but you could run functions like summing, calculating averages, or even displaying charts like this. So this is probably something that would be interesting to evaluate on Thursday's meeting to see what we want to do there.
Thank you. I didn't got the question correctly.
So I was just saying that it's interesting what you do, and probably it would be also interesting to talk about this on Thursday's developer meeting, because as you can see under the link what I added to the chat, there is an open issue about adding aggregation features to projection queries. So kind of what you did now with these charts.
Okay, yes, of course, we can talk about it. Sorry, my sound is not good, and sometimes I didn't get the conversation correctly. Yes, if you would have, if there would be time, we can talk about it. I like to get suggestions for improving it, because I'm currently working on it for implementing other type of charts and things like that. Yes, it's good.
It's interesting that your charts are being displayed on the front end. In the case of my commerce module, we are only displaying the charts in the admin. But it's a different use case, definitely. Can you release the screen, and I'll share my screen again? Thank you. Thanks for the demo. This is a very nice feature.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll share again. Let me know when you can see it.
Yes, I can see.
I'm not going to show the results of that today because I don't have the demo ready, but I can show you the code, how it works. Basically, a chart is, a report is a class that inherits from, here it's a sales report that already has some characteristics that we're overriding here. So it has a name, description, and so on. So that enables the user to choose from drop-downs what he wants as a report, and it exposes a few characteristics such as what type of chart it should be, and also what kind of intervals it supports, and so on. And here, the actual query that it's doing, the base sales report is actually creating the base query, and we are just aggregating the results of that query. So the reports have a common UI because they're all sales report in my case. So there are a few commonalities that I could use, but there is a part in the module that is just about aggregating and building graphs. So this is the base class for the sales report, and they implement an interface that's iCommerce report, and that's where the real common reporting capabilities appear. And here you can see the actual query. So it's doing a content manager query here. So it's getting all the orders in the system, and it's preparing the data for aggregation. And the way it's done here, it enables you to actually, from the reporting screen, to change over which period you want the reporting to happen, to change the granularity of the aggregation, etc. So it's actually a very interactive experience. So yours seems to generate, fixed reports that are very useful and that are going to be updated with time. And the feature that I implemented here is more, to drill down into an existing data set and try to analyze the data. So it's a little more interactive as an experience, but I think there are some really interesting commonalities, and it might be interesting to compare implementations. And see how it works. So what else do I have? I think I have a controller that deals with the reports. Yeah, report controller. So this one controls all the UI that enables you to drill into the data. So for example, here you can see how you have some predefined periods of time, but you can also enter a start date and an end date. You can change the granularity and so on. So it's a very interactive experience. Maybe next week, if people are interested, I can make a demo of the feature. Actually, I think I demoed it already in a previous meeting, but this was a long time ago. Yep.
It's very nice. It would be very good if we could be able to find such things, because I searched the modules for before starting implementation. And I couldn't find it in the search.
Yeah, I think you didn't find it because it's a feature inside of a much larger module that does e-commerce. But please check it out, and if you want to, if you can steal anything from that, please do. It's open source, of course. So and let me know if you have any questions. So the module can be found on Bitbucket. So the repository is this. I'm going to paste that into the chat window. And so the other thing that Zoltan was pointing to, the aggregation in projections, is definitely something that that would be interesting to think about, and maybe we can also steal some code from your module, my module, and create something amazing from all that.
Yes, I think it would be a good idea to take a look at both of them and merge them or find a better one and things like that.
Not to mention that somebody under that issue commented that this would allow the building of custom dashboards.
Yeah.
Now we have custom dashboards.
Yeah.
So we could build all kinds of custom reporting on the dashboard by leveraging projections.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's very interesting. Yep. Okay. Well. Do we have any other demos? Topics? So there is the topic of merging deployment. We could talk about that. George, are you still around?
I'm here.
Okay.
So basically, I've been maintaining the branch. I just went through a very nasty merge today. Basically merging up from 19X. I merged basically where 191 was cut off. So I think we've done some preliminary testing here. We'd like to do a little bit more testing, but I think there's probably, I mean, would this be considered like a 195 release or what? I mean, is this something we want to do a major release for? I don't know, Bertrand, maybe you can speak to the depth of the changes. I know that the import-export system has been modified to emit and accept packages, and then there was a change that somebody put in for some kind of journaling for the recipes, which I merged into our branch. I think that probably will play well. I don't know. What do you guys think?
So the deployment branch has changes, as you said, that enable package deployments rather than recipe files, which enables the packaging of media files, for example, along with the recipe. And there is a huge feature that is automated deployments and repeated deployments. So it's like having import-export working with on a repeatable pattern. So I've actually demoed that in previous meetings, but you might not have seen that. So here, this is currently in a branch called features deployment. And we've been merging 1.9 into that feature branch regularly. It's becoming painful, and the feature is now sufficiently mature that we think that it's ready to be merged into dev. Is that correct, George?
You said we think it is mature or is not mature?
It is mature.
I think so. I think it, I mean, from all of our testing, we can see it works. If you don't want it, you can always turn it off. Obviously, we're doing some more rounds of internal testing here, and if there's anything that we find, we can just submit a pull request. But I think at this point, it's pretty solid, and it would give everyone else a chance to test it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like you said, the maintenance of that branch is a pain, and it would be nice to. And I'm sure everyone wants the feature. I think it's time to kind of let it leave the nest and spread its wings.
And you also have media import-export implemented. I mean, media file, Bertrand,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So what George said before about the merge being fine because people don't have to enable the feature, I would not say it that way, because there are actually some pretty deep changes that were necessary in the regular import-export to enable for all that new stuff. So it's not a harmless merge at all. It does impact features that we already shipped, but actually that's one more reason to actually merge it as soon as possible, so that people start using the feature, and and we have as much testing as possible that's done on the dev branch. So basically, merging that feature branch into dev means, okay, we are accepting the fact that this feature set is going to be part of our next major release. That's the decision we are making. So do we have objections to that? Do we want to take a vote, knowing that I will get Sebastian's vote later when he's back? Any feedback before we take a vote on that?
What's the timeline for the next major release? What are we thinking the timeline will be?
I would actually decide it the other way around. So we also talked about that a few weeks or months ago, that we can make a major release once we have enough stuff ready. Now there are dashboards, there are tons of little improvements and bug fixes, and if we also have content deployment and better import-export, then I would say that this is enough for a major release, and we can have 1.10.
Okay. Sounds good to me. So you're basically going one step further.
You could say that, yes.
Okay.
So I think what you have done is mature enough.
Okay, so
Sorry.
you think that we should merge that feature branch into dev, and then once that is done, that we should release as soon as possible?
Yes, basically I'm saying that, yes. I would add that we also talked about having some kind of flag for modules that are kind of new and can contain bugs or can undergo changes even after being released. We could also have that and add that flag to the content deployment module. that of course wouldn't prevent you from using import-export that now has changes as well. But anyway, for the new modules, we could add that flag, and everybody is aware that these are new modules.
What do you mean flag?
So an indicator.
Isn't it enough that it's in a separate feature in the module?
No, I meant that we talked about that for features or modules, we could have some kind of configuration or something defined in the manifest that would tell you whether this is an early release, a beta, or
oh, okay.
We also have an issue about that somewhere. Just an indication that beware, this might be a bit buggy, even though we released.
Yeah, and that is reflected by a question in the chat. Stable equals major? Question mark. Yeah, if we have such a flag, we would not say that it's unstable. We would say that it's new, right?
That could also mean, in my opinion, that it's unstable, but just that feature. So if you upgrade from 1.9 to 1.10, you could expect that this has a tons of small improvements and bug fixes, and a few completely new features that could be still undergoing changes later.
Okay.
But apart from that, the whole application, apart from those two features, is mature and stable.
Okay. Okay. Well, sounds good to me. So I would still be more comfortable having a phase where the feature has been merged, but we wait before we release 1.10. Because as I said, some of the changes are pretty deep, and we need to know how that plays with existing modules, in particular the import-export logic in existing modules and drivers.
Absolutely, I wouldn't release right away. So,
sorry, your audio is chopped out. Can you say that again?
So I agree. I wouldn't release right away either. So I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
Just probably if you merge it today, in 1 month, we could have a 1.10.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So unless anybody else has some remarks or questions on this, let's. Who do we have from the steering committee? Oh, we have very low attendance today from the steering committee. That's inconvenient. I'll try to get that from email. I'll try to get a vote from email on this today. Okay, sounds good.
That's fine.
Okay, do we have any other topic or demo? Well, if we have nothing else to talk about, let's just call it a day. Thanks everyone for showing up. On Thursday, we have the usual triage meeting. And next week, we'll be here again, hopefully with Sebastian and more people from the steering committee. And have a nice rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.